because I'm the champion. I'm the real champion. There'll never be one like me.
Welcome to NWA Cane Corsos Podcast, where we talk all things dogs.
So when it came to that, similarly, even with the Akita, they actually had to use. Okay, look, I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
Akita people don't come after me.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Look, this is nothing personal. This is nothing against y'all, but hang on just a second. I'm gonna find this picture.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put this to rest right quick. I know I got it. There it goes. Okay. And
Present.
Sharing the screen. And it is there. And I want to show that one.
Y'all make sure to go over to YouTube and follow him on YouTube, Pride Rock Tosa. Okay, we waiting on it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, and if it's too pixelated, I can make it smaller. Okay. The dog on this picture, the backside of this picture says Akita. Okay.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Now you can look at that. You know that's not no Akita. You know that dog is Tosa. That dog is Tosa. That was what was called the Shin Akita or New Akita. And it was one of several in that time period. Let me see if
those old pictures are so cool, bro. Man.
Yeah, you know. I got quite a few here.
Wow. This man has the artifact, y'all.
Man, I got pictures. We want to look at pictures and look at history.
Yeah,
we absolutely can. You know,
yes, sir.
Shoot, man, if we're talking names, this guy right here,
okay,
Genki Sudo,
okay,
one of the most monumental and in my opinion, influential and important figures in shepherding the breed forward to this day, keeping the people united, keeping the people moving forward towards the goal and the ideal, and working together across organizations all over Japan. This guy did a whole lot of good work, and where he came from was, I mean, one of the most humblest of humble beginnings. If we ever get the chance to talk about him, that would be something. This is, let me open this up. This is a Yokozuna being presented to the emperor at that time to just show the dogs. It just kind of shows their place in culture. Again, it's very interesting in that most people haven't seen one, but that doesn't mean that they do not have an important place, an important role.
Man,
I got a couple other pictures of
horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. There are there's a dog in here that I would love to be able to single out. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna make this show you some of these. These are for people who say that they don't get up and that they can't, you know, they're not active. They gas out. They don't, you know, they're masters. Yeah. They're too big and slow. They don't do stuff. They don't do stuff. There is, I know they're in here. I'm gonna make these a little bit bigger. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit bigger so I can see these a little bit better. For size comparison, I pulled this one. This is a 3-year-old doggo Argentino sitting next to a 6-month-old Tosa puppy.
Oh, wow.
Just for size.
Yeah.
Yep. This dog right here is kind of case in point of what I was talking about earlier. This dog is clearly black with tan points. As you can see the markings here. He's also got piebald. So he's got this white on his chest and down the socks on his front legs, and back here, the sock on his foot. Right. This dog is called Rokujogo. He is the common ancestor of all black Tosas. Which is interesting because most countries don't know that these dogs come in all colors. Therefore, they discriminate against black with rust. But clearly, all black dogs came from a black with rust dog. They discriminate against white anywhere on the dog. Clearly, in order to cut out those two things, you have to cut out. You're not just cutting out color preferences. You're not just cutting out what you want to see and what you don't want to see. You need to understand that there's a name with it. This dog was got Yokozuna, got championship, and was this picture. I think he was 9 years old, and this dog would still handle himself very well. I don't know that he was defeated. So in order to say, when you say, hey, I just don't like the black and rust color, I just don't like piebald, I don't think they should have white on them, you're not just cutting out this color, you're cutting out the genetics of this dog, you know. Wow. And that's one of the things I try to show people. This is Grand Champion Lion King out of Korea, Mr. Sungju Lee. Mm-hmm. This is one of the most recognized dogs out of Korea. Aside from perhaps dogs out of Mopac. Let me see here. And people will ask me time to time, what's the difference between Japanese and Korean dogs? There is no practical difference. I'm just going to say, especially something that most people would observe. This guy, Mopac, this guy is the guy that most people look at and say, oh, he's got to be part pit. Oh, he's got to be part Kangal, because look at that masking and this, that, the other thing. They'll just say random stuff, and all they're doing is just saying how much they don't understand. This dog's lines go back to World War II. You know, the breeder for this dog goes back to World War II, and saying random and ignorant stuff like that is it's not just disrespectful. It's harmful, you know, in a lot of ways. And I don't think people really grasp that. I've argued people tooth and nail, hey, think twice before you open your mouth and say stuff like that. And they'll say, agree to disagree. I'm like, wait, it's facts though. What do you mean agree to disagree on facts? Like, wait a second. We're not just talking about speculation. We got the person that bred the dog. Right. We have their parents. We have their parents. We got their generations going back as far back as you want to go. And, you know, you still have people that want to insist on seeing it their way. And there's only so much I can say and do for that. Let me see here. We're getting...
Man, you got a lot of pictures, bro.
This isn't even the start of it. This isn't even the half of it. These are just the ones I kind of pulled out as best as I could to kind of show a broad glimpse of the breed here. This would have been a person who had this breed during the time when they were banned. This is a little girl with her Tosa. These would be the rings. I don't know what the viewership is as far as like what the rules are for YouTube and stuff, so I don't want to get you in trouble, but these would be some of the rings. I'll leave them kind of zoomed out. These are some of the rings.
Still pictures. Yeah, so I'm not worried about that.
Okay. So this is a ring in Odate way back. Let me see here. This would be another one. This would be another one. I used to translate all of the words down here at the bottom, and I've got them written around here somewhere, but I don't have those handy at the moment. This is the working line Shikoku in Japan. You'll find that compared to the show lines that you see here in the West, they don't have the rolled over tail. They don't look more like a show dog. They have a much more rougher look. And you can also see the influence, in my opinion, of several different breeds, several different Japanese primitive breeds in these dogs. They almost kind of look like a Jindo to the like a country of origin Jindo, not a show Jindo. These are some of my old school dogs again. This girl, her name was Keiko. That boy is Sumo. This is not long after that I got them imported and was trying to hold them while I got their housing ready. They are just very crudely restrained to this fence because I didn't want to overdo it, because they could easily clear this fence. They can clear this fence without touching it. Wow. All of my Tosas could. The real challenge is when you start getting to a 6-foot fence, then your males are going to clear it. Some of your females that are properly motivated. Yeah, I know I pulled those pictures. I just must not have put them on here. You can kind of see more of the Mastiff influence on this dog, but I want to be clear that the direction, again, the direction each dog is bred is going to be decided by the league that they're in. It's going to be decided by this guy. I wanted you to see this guy. You can clearly see a lot more bulldog in this guy's face.
Oh, yeah.
But again, this isn't old school. This isn't, back in the 50s or 60s, and that was when this got bred out. No, you can go there today and see this in some dogs in some lines. And the reason why is because that fits for that league at that time. I had a conversation with a good friend, somebody I respect, who's also in the breed that subscribes to more of the Western sort of logic. And her concern was, if you can't track them by phenotype the way you track a Doberman or a German Shepherd, et cetera, then how do you know who has a real Tosa and who doesn't? And I'm going to say you get a broader perspective. These gentlemen can tell a Tosa from a mix. They can tell a proper Tosa from a meat farm dog. They can tell a working dog from Japan or Korea from any dog from elsewhere. This is Tosa on a hog doing work. There was a couple of pictures of that I pulled. They come in piebald, as you can see there in their country of origin. Don't listen to the breed standard. It's not telling you right.
Yeah.
This is that stuff that I was telling you about the other day. This is a dog in that garb, and you can see clearly the Shimanawa, the rope here. You can see this lightning pattern, the zigzag here on the paper.
Yes, sir.
This very, very ornate picture here. I don't want to quote this wrong, but that looks like Inu to me. It's just the mark here is on the wrong side, so I'm not sure.
Now, you said that outfit. I hope I'm pronouncing it right or giving it the proper respect. Could cost $30K.
That was in the 90s.
Oh, the 90s. Okay.
I don't know what they cost. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what they cost now, but it wouldn't surprise me if they double that. Here, this is another Akita. So you can see you got the tail, but you see these drop ears and this Tosa shape. The Shin Akita was used to restore the Akita, the modern day Akita.
Really?
You got your Western American so-called Akita and your Japanese Akita. They're essentially the same dog. They were just different directions. The Americans got them, and they liked the size. They got tired of waiting for Japan to decide what they wanted to do to fix this, essentially. And then Japan eventually decided that they would breed them back to that primitive look. They did a lot of work over a lot of years to make that happen. But to this day, you'll see an Akita come in Tosa colors. And a lot of people don't know this, but just because an Akita is not a Tosa, that does not mean they are a pushover. And a lot of their perspective towards other dogs and a lot of their physical capability, it's easy to underestimate them thinking one thing, but they have enough of that Tosa in them that you would be surprised that dog is not going down. This big rope here is Shimanawa. And these are, people, life-size people here. And this is at a temple. And again, it wraps around the temple as a blessing, or they have it over the entryway as a blessing. And it's the same blessing that you're going to see on these dogs.
What is that texture like? What is it similar to?
The texture of the rope?
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, it's hemp. Like a type of hemp.
Okay.
Yes. And you can see again the zigzag lightning pattern here. That one's the one you'll see the most often. You'll also see some dogs that are historically very relevant, but they don't have this silk garb or the rope or the shide, the paper. You can see this picture here kind of points it out there. I don't know if y'all can see that very well. But yeah, that this dog, for instance, came from a time before that was a bit more of a popular or practiced thing. So you're not going to see a silk garb on this guy. That doesn't mean he's not high ranking.
Right.
Usually a lot of the Shin Akitas, by the time they started mixing Tosa into it, it was because the Tosa was already dominating. So a lot of these Shin Akitas made it to Ozeki, which is the second highest rank. You look at this paper here. Okay, so this is a very, very, very specific writing style that is only used for traditional sumo writing and for the Tosa. So it's very culturally significant. It's very specific and not used anywhere else. And it has very specific meanings to it. So if I recall correctly, this is the East League. This is the West League. And each league has, like, if you go from, I think it's starting at the center and reading out, and starting at the center and reading out. I'll have to look at it again. But that's your rank. So this whole rank up here, this is a list of dogs. This is a list of dogs. This is a list of dogs. This is one class, right? Right up here. Then here, you got the name of another class, and that's this class here. And you got so many dogs here. Same here, same here, and same here. And what you'll find is that as you go up, the writing gets bolder and bigger for the dogs' names versus down here where it's very faint and small. And again, that just goes to show their rank and stuff like that. As far as the human version of this, it's exactly the same, except that it's just a human version for human sumo. And as far as the rankings and categories, there's more because humans have a longer lifetime and can, hit more ranks along the way, whereas dogs don't. But what you'll find is that for the humans, of this long list, only this top row can wear that robe and wear that rope. Actually, only the one name here can wear the rope, and only the top like 3 or 4 can wear that robe. Aside from that, nobody else is allowed to wear it. Nobody else is allowed to mimic this sort of writing style, except for the Tosa. Except for the Tosa. Wow. And when we look at this breed and try to understand their role in society, this is a Western dog here. Very, 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 very mastiffy, but you know, not too tough to pick out. This is one of my boys running out here in the country, running next to a golf cart. I cheated. I put him back and then took off so that I could catch him passing me. They're not usually behind me. But this dog here is from the 30s. And then this dog here is from the 70s. So again, this isn't old style and then say new style. This is that dog for that time in that league at that purpose, that dog for that league and that time and that purpose. And we can just go down this list and talk about each and every one in that same way, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't want to hijack the whole conversation, but
hijack it. We need
one thing I did. Okay. Well, yeah, and one thing I did say before was that there were 3 things that people needed to understand about this breed. You can kind of see this guy with the Tosa here, and most people wouldn't even know, you know, right? That dog's face looks too snipey to fit what we would call a Tosa as far as our Western understanding. But I can't say his name, but that guy's important. And that guy is you don't just ignore him, right? He says this is a Tosa. This dog is still alive because it has proven itself as a token. So there's not a question of whether or not this dog should be a Tosa, whether or not this dog is a Tosa. We can't bring in our Western thoughts and supersede, again, the Japanese assertion of they know what they built. Right. And what they made is to be respected and honored as what it is. If you want to make something else, you're welcome to go make something else, you know, but you can't tell them what is and is not. Right. You know, you can't tell him, oh yeah, that's a mix. That had to be mixed with a Labrador. Look at that head. You know? No, you can't, you don't have the right or the place or even the understanding to be able to say that. This is a dog from way back. This is a dog from way back. So you can see strong Pitbull influence on this dog because this is back when the pit and the pointer were first added into the breed. Certain pits and certain pointers were added, or should I say rather certain bull and terrier dogs and certain pointers were added into the breed. And you can see a lot of that influence. Some of these are my dogs interspersed in throughout here. I like it if people can see my dogs and see what we're doing and stuff like that here, but I don't want it to be just about my dogs because there's so much more to see and learn and know. I got pictures of the current Yokozuna around here somewhere, but I didn't get permission to share those yet. So at some point you'll see those. But yeah, these are just some of the ones that I kind of selected and pulled out for you to kind of see. Again, the color doesn't matter. Look at these feet, these back feet, and how they're turned out. If you brought that dog to the West, people would scream.
Oh yeah,
but you see this. Definitely. You see that?
Yeah.
He didn't just. He's not just there for show. He's not just there because somebody said, "Oh, I think this dog should get a chance to be." No. And a lot of people see them with their conformation doesn't look like a dog show conformation, and they think the dog must be incapable. But a lot of this comes from putting those back legs up against that ring right there and pushing hard. You know, one of the rules is the dog always has to move forward. If they're not moving forward, they forfeit. I think if they take, it's 3 steps any direction other than forward, they forfeit. They lose. You know, so a lot of the way the dog is designed, they're built to stand and fight. They're built to make a stand, draw a line in the sand, and you're not crossing it. Nobody else is crossing it. Your friends aren't crossing it. You can go get them. It doesn't matter. It's not going to happen. You're not going to outrun them as far as like energy and stuff. Where's that boy? Where's that boy? I got a black boy on here that I had several years ago. That's a good example of it. But all I can say is if you keep your dogs heavy and overweight, it doesn't matter the breed, they're not going to perform. But our dogs are out here running from one town to the next across Texas. So it's not cold. It can be hot, it can be humid, or it can be cold in the winter. But they don't see the tail lights on that golf cart. This boy never saw the tail of that golf cart. The next town over from here is probably another 3 or 4 miles down that road. He never sees the tail lights ever.
Right.
Except I guess when he pauses to relieve himself, but then he just catches catches the golf cart like it's nothing. But there's just so much to see. Man, I love this dog here. It's a poor quality pic, so if I make it too big, it's tough to see. But I love this dog's bone. I love his size. That's his front. I mean, you just look at that front end. And this is what they're talking about with expression. This is not an expression that was bred by phenotype to add wrinkle here, make it lay this way, make the ears lay that way. No, this is a dog that was put through, as they would say it, stood in front of somebody that was put there that wants to compete, wants to challenge, and is a legitimate challenge, put in front of an insurmountable wall and had to face it. And again, I'm not trying to put forth dog fighting as good or great. I think that there are many ways that we can accomplish that. And that's why we're working on our own sport to be able to do so. But saying that we did the dogs a favor by giving them nothing when we took them out of their country, I think is also very wrong.
100%, brother. I agree. I was talking to first off, I always think that preservation breeders over here have more knowledge than some of the working people when it comes to the breeds. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and I know that some of these breeds that's being preserved don't have nothing up here. Zero up here in the show, on the show side. And I was talking to somebody, and the more I talked to her, the more I realized about the nothing that a lot of dogs are getting up here now.
Yes.
Nothing there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But think about it. Like that's one of the deep things about what I was told as far as asking. I remember asking a certain dog man over there in Asia, I want to learn from you. I want to know how do you decide what to breed for? How do you pick in your program? Hey, I need more head. I need more bone. I need less wrinkle, more muzzle, etc. How do you decide those things? And he told me the rules make the dogs. And it was just one of those things that immediately clicked for me. If we say that most breeds existed before their standard, right? Nobody wrote a standard and said, I want to bring this dog into existence. They had breeds that existed and dogs that existed. And then they created a standard to try to preserve it. And then we made that standard. We pulled them away from the work that made them. We pulled them out of the forge that created them and decided we could just breed it. And again, nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I'm not trying to go after anybody. I'm just looking at the structure of this thought here. Of course, we're going to have different dogs. Of course, we're going to create a different creature. And when we take a shepherd, say a collie, out of a field where it has to be the smartest thing on that field, it has to outthink everything. Take a livestock guardian out of the field where it has to be smarter than foxes and wolves, which is saying a lot because those are not dumb creatures. Take a working dog out of a working element. Take a mastiff off of the battlefield. And again, I'm not trying to say war is glorious, but I'm trying to say Mastiffs had an interesting role in war because they had to fight people, the smartest creature on the planet, and they had to outthink them. They had to deal with them in the Colosseum. You know, take that requirement to be present-minded. Take that out of the picture and say all you have to do is look a certain way. And it's not that people are malicious with it or they're trying to make a bad dog, but they're not trying hard enough to keep what was there in the first place. And then we fast forward to today, and I got people complaining left and right. Oh man, this dog is trash dog, but you know, I mean, it's got clicks on Instagram and everybody likes it and this, that, and the other thing. And to me, it's like, well, of course. Why wouldn't that be the next thing? If the dog doesn't have to do the work, right? If the dog doesn't have to be what it had to be to become what it was, to earn the reputation that the breed got in the first place, if they don't have to do that, then why wouldn't the next thing just continue on? Okay, the show scene was the show scene for quite some time, but we're moving into a technology age. Why wouldn't it as well? Why wouldn't the dog show be clicks on Instagram and likes and follows? You know, why wouldn't that be the next work? You know, so when I think about this breed and the work that I'd like to do to try to protect and move it forward again, not in the sense of telling other people what to do with their dogs or anything like that, so much as giving that opportunity to be able to revisit that forge and remember the things that made them what they were and move that forward and do so in a way that's legal, do so in a way that's ethical, sure, especially as far as what public perception is concerned, with no disrespect to the importance culturally and religiously in their country of origin. But we can't do that here. And providing that as an opportunity for these dogs to be able to preserve that and move that forward, I think is, in my opinion, a more important conversation than a scissors bite. How many wrinkles? You know, this is Mufasa. This boy is the one I was talking about that he got so sick he didn't eat for a week, and I would run my dogs next to a bicycle for 4 hours a day. I was in college and in high school. I didn't have anything else to do but school and work and dogs. And that boy, that whole week, never slowed down. Ran beside that bicycle the whole time across all of Southeast Houston. Anybody that was in that area from, say, the year 1999 through 2006, you've seen us. It was me. That was us, you know, and not just him, but so many of these other dogs that you're seeing in these pictures that were mine. All four of these dogs, same story. This dog came to me overweight. This dog came to me overweight. They came from show people that wanted to use them in show. They're not show lines. They were Korean import, Japanese import, but intended for show. And they were overweight. I shaved that weight off of them, and they were keeping up with him. And these are dogs that don't touch a 4-foot fence jumping over it. They don't touch a 4-foot fence jumping over it. The best ones hardly touch a 6-foot fence. They outrun that bike every last time. That last mile and a half, I would unleash him and we would take off. And this is a 21 speed bike. I'm pumping as fast as my high school athlete body would go. And I could do everything I could to just kind of try to keep them in reach as far as the go juice that these dogs had. Doesn't matter the work. I've never been disappointed by a Tosa given a chance. You can see some of the first litters we had. These little mops right here are miniature poodles. Yeah. So my mom bred miniature poodles. My little sister was breeding chocolate labs. And one of the easiest ways I found to socialize my dogs was to have them let me raise and train their puppies so that they would get, good training and go to good homes. So that's what I did. And to this day, that still continues. My dogs see more than just Tosas. I want them to go places. We don't do as much here out in the country. And there's a funny story with that. The first time they saw a dog with wiry hair, this one litter of puppies freaked out, like, oh my goodness, he's stabbing us. Like, trying to dodge, man, they freaked out. But it was all the more important to me that even out here, I need to make sure I'm keeping diligent with socialization and stuff. These are some young puppies. I think they were about 8 weeks, 9 weeks at this point. This is the first female I ever had. Her name was Sarabi. Back humble beginnings for sure. But yeah, I keep saying I'm coming back to this point, and I'm gonna finish it this time. When it comes to the things to understand about this breed, like I said, 1, they're not a Western breed. 2, they're not a pit bull. 3, Gameness, and I just want to kind of talk about it structurally a little bit.
We finna get in trouble now.
I'm gonna get in. I'm trying not to get you. I'm trying not to get us in trouble.
No, I'm teasing, brother. Yeah.
But let me put it this way. There are some people that are just gonna disagree, no matter what I say. If my mouth is open, I must be wrong. But don't take it from me. One of the most interesting and intriguing interviews I've ever seen on the subject was with Madison Mad Dog Parker. You can look it up. Mm-hmm. He specifically addresses the definition of gameness, and I kind of summarize it. But the definition that I have is one that I think is very accurate. And the dogmen, the American dogmen, the Western dogmen, and game dogmen that I've talked to since, at first, when they first hear me say that definition, they disagree. But when we talk and we explain it and discuss it, they're like, well, half the time they cuss and they say, I guess you're right. And it's one of those uncomfortable truths about it. But rather than getting into that, I want to say, if we zoom out, just like that Korean dog man said, the rules make the dogs. Understand, there is no universal rule. Okay, everything everybody subscribes to does not exist everywhere. Gameness, people kind of hold it as this intangible thing that they can't describe or explain to save their life. You'd be surprised at how many people you ask to define it, and they say gameness is gameness, or it's just gameness. It's like, okay, but what is that? They
you
can't.
Know what it means? It means what it says. It's gaming.
yeah, like gameness. It's like, no, I want you to tell me what it is, and they can't tell you, or they tell you wrong. They tell you something that they think it means, but if you look into it, you find it means something entirely different. When it comes to it, though, as a whole, right? It is a philosophy. It is a perspective. It is a way to go about selecting and developing dogs, your game dog, right? That doesn't mean that every dog has to be that or subscribe to that in order to be that. And one good example, I think, I love cars. I love a lot of different things. I'm all over the place, but I like cars. My favorite car is a Dodge Viper, but I got a Mustang GT with the Ford V8, the modular V8. I got a 94 F-150 with the small block Ford. I know I got a HEI distributor. Don't hate. I know it's a bow tie. Don't hate. But at the end of the day, what I'm not going to do is expect Ford to sell me an American muscle car with a high winding 4-liter V12 like Ferrari might. And I'm not going to expect Ferrari to put out a big block 454 to compete 454 with the
like I got outside.
That's not, yeah, man. That's not their thing. You can go across Europe, high wind, small small motors. You go to Japan, high wind small motors. You go to the US, we don't use turbos on our cars off the factory. Traditionally, our muscle cars are called muscle cars because they do it with just size. If you want to throw a turbo on that, go for it. But that's just what it is. That's the philosophy. That doesn't mean that every car that goes fast has to be built that way. Some are electronic. Some are hypercars. Some have twin turbo V8s from American cars, like what's his face, Koenigsegg. Some of them have. It doesn't matter the engine or how they go fast, but what needs to be understood is that there's more than one way to do that. And when it comes to dog matching, I don't want to say dog fighting because it's not all the same. Game dogs is a way that some people do it, and some people describe it, and some people work with that thing that they're pursuing. Every dog should not be measured by that because that's not what every dog is about. That doesn't make them better or worse in general. That doesn't make them anything. It just makes them different. So when it comes to your bully cutter and you see some of these matches in India, and I'll get people asking me, what are these guys doing? You know some Indian people. What are they doing? You'll see these people and these dogs are competing, and the people are in there pushing them and shoving them or petting them or picking them up and putting them down and doing what Americans would consider interfering and blocking. But you need to understand what they're trying to test is not what you're trying to test. And what they're after is not what you're after. And that is just, it's not what they want. You can pop the hood of a Ferrari as many times. A V8 is not going to appear under there. A small Chevy is not going to just appear and materialize, And in the same way, the Tosa is not game in the sense of they are not meant to fall into that rubric of measurement. That doesn't mean that they're inferior to anybody. What needs to be understood is Bushido, which has certain tenets that, again, these are not, if they dodge, parry, if they jump as well and poke and stab and all this other kind of stuff. It's not simply this is how to fight. It's not about fighting at all. It's about character. It's about becoming a whole human, and as that, applying yourself in whatever your hand finds to do, which may be a war or a battle, or it may be work at a job. It may be any number of things. You never know what those things are. But as far as the tenets of Bushido, they are in direct contrast to the concept of a game dog. So when people say, man, I wish somebody would show me a real game Tosa, you're never going to see that. You're never going to see that because that's not what they are. That's not how they are designed to be. And the more you look into what gameness actually means, the more you see. I think if people really understood what it meant, they wouldn't be throwing that word around like that. They would not be saying it as a measure of whether or not a dog is a good dog or anything like that. I really don't think most people understand it. And when it comes to trying to measure other dogs by it, it's a round peg in a square hole, or a square peg in a round hole, whichever one doesn't fit. You know what I'm trying to say. Right. So yeah, what the Tosa is meant to be, that thing to understand. They're not a Western dog. They're not a pit bull. They're not a game dog. Stop looking for that there. You're wasting your time and your energy. And people who keep trying to, like some people in the West, want to try to make them into that so that they can fit in the show scene. But that's like trying to grasp oil with your hands. You can't. It's just going to keep passing through. One of the most important bits of advice I ever got as a dog trainer was don't work against the animal, right? Don't try to make them be something that they're not. The most frustrating work you're ever going to have is trying to force a dog to be something that you think they should be, that you think they should do, and work the way you think they should work. You're going to spend your life in frustration. But when you start to understand the creature better and work forward in that and with that, you're going to accomplish things that you never thought were possible. But if you come to it with a preconceived notion, oh, I can't this or I will that, shoot, if I can, since we coming after everybody today, if I can go after the dog trainers, it's just a one-liner and say, oh, they got to be all positive, or oh, they got to be all corrections. That's not what the dogs do themselves. Sometimes their positivity is calmness and balance and peace, and they absolutely will correct each other. What do you think the teeth are for? Like, I mean, as in human interpersonal relationships, a healthy relationship can say no. So why wouldn't you do that with your dog? Why would you start off by saying, I can't do that? Why would I start off by saying, I don't like hammers, but I need to build a house. I'm just not going to use a hammer. What kind of house do you think I'm going to end up with? You know? Right. That's for people who say, you know, you can't use an e-collar or a prong collar or a flat collar or a halty collar or this, that, or the other thing. That's this over concernment with tools and missing the underlying creature and the thing you should be focusing on. You know, I want to be clear. I don't think that I'm the only person that's a good trainer. There are a lot of really good trainers out there. I just think that the industry is pointed in odd direction at this time.
I don't think trainers have. I'm sorry. I don't think trainers, for the most part, have perspective, or at least they don't respect each other's path to getting a dog to the same place. They just don't. It goes back to some of the stuff
they do not. I will say that.
Right. Yeah. It goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, where I would say that my way or the highway type deal. You know what I mean? Western concept, bully song. It's this way, no other way. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, I think again, I'm only one man. I did this math when I first started my dog training company. I forget what the actual number was, but it was something like 20 dogs. 20. That's how many dogs I can help at a time, as far as professionally with different households. In the city of Houston alone, which is where I grew up, multiply that by 1 million, you might have how many dogs are there. So if I got the only monopoly on good information, if I'm the only worthwhile trainer, if I'm the only one that can help people and help dogs, what good is that? I got a lifespan. I got a shelf life. I'm not going to be here for forever. Shoot, you listen to my wife. I'm not going to be working for forever. I'll be retired. You know? But when it comes to it, being able to understand, I think it was Max von Steffens who said, and I don't agree with everything he or everybody else said from that era, but one insightful thing I think he said was, whoever can answer the question, how can I say this to my dog? That man has won it all. Or something to that effect. I think that's the essence of dog training.
Right.
There's not one human language that people speak, but we can get a message across.
That's right.
We know when someone's happy and when someone's sad. We can learn to communicate. And similarly with dogs, I won't say that everything everybody does is okay. No, I don't think so. But there are more than one way to accomplish training. The fundamental thing is the thing that needs to happen. There's a lot of ways to get there, you know.
That's right. That's right.
And quite frankly, being able to see that has led to me being in a very odd position. I'll get people calling me and saying, hey, my trainer said this, that, or the other thing. And because I understand what structurally needs to happen, I can see what they were trying to say and what they were trying to do, and I can help with their training method and their training system and stay inside their box and say, do this, this, that, or the other thing. And then they do that and it works. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And a lot of that, to me, isn't that it makes my way worse or lesser because somebody else's way can work. I do feel like my way is the most efficient. That's why I do it. But that doesn't mean that it's the only way, right?
That's right. That's right.
I am so sorry. I just realized we were talking about dog training and we were supposed to be talking about Tosas. I get it.
It needed to be said. Yeah, it needed to be said. Some people just poke holes in whatever you say or do. They looking for a hole.
Yeah.
They even might not even be one there.
Yeah.
They're gonna make one.
No.
Yeah.
But they're gonna make one. There's gotta be something to be said, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, so when it comes to just kind of getting back to Gameness versus Bushido, there is no overlap between those constructs, those concepts, those ideas. There is no hey, we can take a little bit of this and it'll help over here. That's like a fish being helped by the things that it needs to survive underwater, having those things also help it on land. No, it's a different environment. It's a different pressure. It's a different requirement. Nothing that you do in the water helps you on land. You try to walk, you'll get to the bottom of the sea real quick, you know, down there in the ocean. And if you try to swim on land, you'll just be sitting there on the shore and you'll die of hunger, not going anywhere because you're just flopping, right? Mm-hmm. Same idea, you know. So that being said, you know, take it or leave it. Some people might like it. Some people might look into Bushido and say, that's everything I want to be. Of course I want a dog like that. And there's some people that say, hey, I think this Gameness might be better. This game dog might be the better thing for me in the way I want to go. And if that's, you know, if that's them, that's fine. You know, similar to, I'll get people that'll misunderstand that these dogs were made to be Bushido. Okay. Not a phenotype. So again, I'll get people that'll be like, hey man, yeah, the Japanese back in that time, they didn't have access to all the dogs that we have today. And we need to add this breed, that breed, this breed, that breed. Like if you look at some of the videos online on this breed, there's always somebody that's talking about how they can build a better mousetrap, as one of my friends might put it. But again, you can build what you want to build and make that your thing. There's all kinds of people with band dog programs and hybrid programs and this, that, or the other thing. Even entire breeds that are made from such mixes, you know, right? But you can't just say that it's still the thing that you want it to be. You made your own thing. And especially when it comes to the Tosa, the first people that should have reached out to these dogmen and learned to them should not be me. It should not be me. I'm kind of like, if I'm gonna sit here and think about it, I'm upset with the people that came before me. Some of the people, not everybody is like that, but some of the people that came before me in this breed in the West who did not in that way, that missed opportunity. These people who've been stewarding this breed for 1,000 years suddenly had somebody come up and say, we want to do things the Western way. You need to get in with us or don't. And they didn't. And instead of saying, hey, we're sorry, we still want to learn from you, they said, we're going to make up our own thing. This is the new breed standard. And this is the competing way. This is a competing model or idea of this breed. And this is better because it's refined. Look at how their lines are better and you can see their pedigree and this is that or the other thing. All these things that have nothing to do with what a Tosa is.
Right,
like literally everything that has nothing to do with it.
We got a
breed standard that has 3 words to describe the temperament. You say what?
We got that bad. We take dogs in other countries and we make them. We tell them they got it wrong. Whether it be the Boerboel, whether it be
oh my God,
we tell them no, that's wrong.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it the right way. We're gonna show you. I mean, you made the breed, and you know it exists to this day because of you. But we're gonna show you the right way to do this. you
Right,
know.
right,
And
exactly.
you know, shoot, if I'm a start, you know, if we got shots fired, look, the reason why I even found out the Tosa existed was because at the time I was looking at other more popular breeds, and the Great Dane at that time had an average life expectancy of 2 years. I kid you not. 2 years. The average life expectancy of the Great Dane was a juvenile. They would not live to see adulthood. Now, you go to today and they worked it up. I think it's up to 6 to 8 now. But a lot of work from a lot of people. But it needs to be understood. I'm not just calling people out or attacking anybody. The best intentions got us to that point. The breed standards and the way we were breeding things and the way we were doing things better than the boarhound work that they were doing when they were created, right? That was what was supposed to help them. And we got them to the point where the average life expectancy is 2 years. That means some dogs might live to see 6, but some dogs are living so much less than 2 years that they're pulling the whole average life expectancy down. Do you know how much of a percentage of the breed that has to be for that to happen? And that happened while the best people were working with them and doing their best, at least as far as we can tell, level best, with the best standards and the best this and the best that. Now, I can say this. We can say whatever we want about the Japanese dog man, about the Asian dog man, about the work that they have their dogs do. But their dogs don't get buried at 4 years old. Their dogs don't get buried at 2 years old for heart this, cancer that, dysplasia this, dysplasia that. You don't see that. Their dogs are healthy, producing healthy dogs. That conformation may not look like what we expect to see at a breed show, but their dogs live longer, and they stay out of the vet's office. So when it comes to it, I guess saying something that bluntly sounds like I'm trying to fight. I'm not. But what I'm trying to say is that when we look at managing dogs, when we look at the way we do things here in the West, and then understand that Japanese dog man's perspective, where they had the tradition and the people shunned it. The people decided they would go their own way, make a standard when a standard was already there. The rules of the ring were the standard. The ring was the dog show. You didn't try to find something suitable for your Western context. You just completely got rid of it and decided that you did them a favor by putting them on a sofa. You know, you completely cut them out. Japanese dog men never want to see a Tosa turned on a human being. So most of them absolutely reject the idea of the dogs in protection work. And I've been working with them to try to get to the point to understand exactly what it is that could be beneficial from them doing that. But you don't see me showing my dogs in doing protection work. Right. Yeah, it could get a lot of publicity. It could get a lot of notoriety. But I guarantee you're never going to see it publicly until they give the sign off, until they give the go ahead out of respect. Because of the fact, again, that instead of working with them, which they can be worked with, we ignore them. We don't need them anymore. We got the dog. We don't need to worry about Bushido or character or intelligence or any of the things, like you said, that go on inside the head of the animal. We don't need to worry about that because we can sell an exterior look, you know, right. Or, you know, this lineage, you know, like we said in the last episode, it's a championship bloodline, you know, because there's a such thing as something else, right?
Yeah. Right.
I think the FCI within the last year reclassified the breed as a guardian breed. And there were a lot of people in the West that celebrated that. And I remember just thinking to myself and going and talking to certain people and letting them know, hey, that's not good news. It's just continuing to do the thing that we did at the start when we took the dogs and left everything else. It's continuing to drive a wedge in their trust because they can see what we're about. And I get why people did that. shoot, man, I get why, and I get why it's easier to brand this dog as a samurai dog than to actually talk about what goes on in that ring. It's easier to say that they're a protection working dog than to have anybody think that they're a fighting breed, because people have preconceived notions of what that means. But when I talk about this breed, like when some people talk about this breed, they'll say they're good with other dogs or as family dogs, despite their history in the ring. And I'm going to say clearly, no, you don't understand Bushido. If you looked at Bushido and understood it, you know that it was because of what it required to perform in that ring. They're a good family dog. Because of Bushido, they're naturally therapy dogs. I got so many people that got dogs from me, that got dogs from elsewhere, that have Tosas, some of them imported from Japan, from the work, that they never had to teach the dog to be a therapy dog. But this dog is already giving you advanced warnings. Hey, you're about to have a seizure. This dog is already seeing your instability, getting ready. You're about to have a problem getting up these stairs, and this dog immediately moves itself beside you. And you didn't have to say that, and you never taught that dog that. You never taught that dog the difference between a human grown-up adult and a baby. You never taught that dog the difference between somebody who has good intentions and bad intentions. You never taught that dog any of these things, and they just seem to know it. And it's not because, in spite of what their history was, it's because of what they had to be in order to be successful, not just in the ring, but in order to demonstrate Bushido, in order to demonstrate this thing that exists as a lifestyle, not just something that you see in a ring for 5, 10, 25, 30 minutes. It's the life of the dog. You sit in a room. You don't have to see a Tosa, but you can sit in a room and you can know one is there because of the presence and the bearing that comes with that animal. They can walk up to another dog. And I'm telling you, I've had dogs of all different kinds that want to fight with every dog they see, and without fail, when a Tosa walks into the room, an adult Tosa walks into the room with that mindset, everybody gets quiet. I mean, dogs that I'm sitting here telling, hey, calm, quiet, relax. And it's a guest dog, and it's not listening to me yet. But that dog just steps into the room and everybody relax. Everybody chills. You can't put that into a written standard, you know. But if you don't spend enough time learning and growing and just soaking in the knowledge and wisdom from these dogmen over there, and some of the people that they've taught elsewhere. I got mentors outside of Japan and Korea. I want to be clear about that. But if you could just sit and soak with some of these people and see so much of what this dog is and is supposed to be, you start to get much more of that picture and start to understand again why I say I don't worry about my dogs with kids. Oh, but it's a fighting breed. Not like you're thinking. Oh, but it's got to be game. No, and that's why I don't have to worry about them like that. They don't have to go after everything in order to prove that they got it in them. They don't have to fit anybody's description. In Sports Illustrated in the early 1950s, very, very famous Sports Illustrated writer took a trip to Japan and wrote on this breed. And one thing I'll never forget that he talked about was that he said that there was this prestigious match, Yokozuna against Yokozuna. This was a match that, like, you know how with your professional boxing and stuff like that here in the U.S., or even a concert, you're going to have your people that warm up the crowd, the smaller matches that come, but you know you got your main event coming.
Pre-fights, yeah.
This was the same thing. This was that big build fight. This dog match between this Yokozuna, they're coming together. Be there, be ready. Everybody paid their money. Everybody's ready. And here's what happened. One dog had experience and was there and was ready. The other dog, when he showed up, he couldn't get in. He couldn't get into the mix, whatever. After one or two attempts, they called the match. And the owner of the dog went up on the stage, addressed the crowd, and apologized. And he said it's his first time performing in front of a crowd this large. He's a little nervous. That dog left the stage with applause. Standing ovation from everybody. That dog left the stage and went home and lived to match another day. Ended up going on, making Yokozuna, which is a dog that is matched against other Yokozuna and establishes his win record of, I think, 2 to 3 has to be at least in order to be able to get that title. That was a dog that went on to become a thing. I'm just talking about this from a structural standpoint. But if that were a Pitbull, in a game dog match, if that were a dog in China in one of their dog fights, if that were a dog anywhere else on the planet, would the crowd have applauded it? No. Would the dog have been continued to be allowed to match, or would it have been scratched as a wash? What would be the different outcome anywhere else on the planet? Not just some places. Not just that it could happen somewhere. Somebody decided that they give the dog a chance, but what is normal? What is supposed to happen? What is expected? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's something deeper there and something just bigger there. And when we see again the difference of the structure, the structural forge that is intended to create the canine embodiment of Bushido, there is room for growth. There's room to learn. Now, excellence is required. Don't get me wrong. They're not going to take subpar and just excuse it or explain it away. They put forth their best in all things. But even in that, they don't see those dogs as a necessity to prove something about themselves. That dog is its own standing. That dog is its own creature. That dog will demonstrate and stand or fall on its own. And that dog will reach what it can reach and do what it can do, and we will continue on. You know what I mean? Like I said, I cannot support dog fighting, though I respect, like someone who respects diamonds has to respect the pressure that made them, right? At least to a certain extent. Right. And I respect the people and their tradition. I respect their culture. I respect their religion. I respect so much about it. But for me personally, similarly, right? I can't bring myself to hog hunt my dogs. Call me a softie, right? Call me. I respect. You got that? That's all for you. That's great. That's wonderful. And heck, man, I'll even watch sometimes and see some of those hog hunting videos and watch the big catch dogs go in and stuff like that. That's cool. But for me, myself, could I do that? No. If I had to, in order to survive and put food on the table, yeah, that's one thing. And there's some people that's what they do. But for me, for sport, no. Doesn't mean that I can't respect for those that do. And that doesn't mean that I respect all kinds of dog fighting. I want to be clear about that. It's not all the same. It's not all coming from the same place. But I can respect these people and the honor and dignity that they try to do everything that they do, right? Regardless of what it is. And I can learn to work with them and work us all towards a better future.
Exactly.
You know, I'm sorry, I just completely monopolized that and got on a soapbox.
hey, I want you to spill it out. Something I do want to say, because I don't think people know this is a good book, and you really want to read about the history of your dogs, all kind of dogs, your pets. what they were originally designed for. You know, we tell you the truth over here. We're not softies. Oh, we tell you the truth of what they were designed. Dogs had a purpose besides sitting on couches. And of course, things have modernized, and but dogs have been used for all kind of things. And I think the public should know more of the history, the true history of dogs. Instead of a lot of this pancake talk that goes on now.
Going on big time. Like and again, that's a good point. The modern times have moved us forwards in some ways. So if we could say something that has less heat, I don't know if it has actually less heat, but something that is, we could take a break from dog fighting for a split second, and we could say, filo brasileiro.
Yeah.
Half of it needed to be hound enough to track down escaped slaves, and it needed to be mastiff enough to deal with them when it found them. Right? Take no bribes. That's the ojeriza. We don't need that these days, you know. we might have dogs that do scent work for manhunts or finding lost people and stuff like that, and that's great, and they can do that sort of thing. But we can also find other ways to keep that dog moving forward and work. And shoot, man, it's the reason why I don't still have a BlackBerry, right? Who does these days?
Right.
They didn't move forward. Right now, they're still doing their thing. They're still doing some things. It doesn't mean they're not doing anything, but they're not the big name that they once were. They were the cutting edge.
They were,
but they didn't continue to move. You know, same thing. I think the same thing is true, and this may be me speaking out of turn a little bit, but the more I learn about Japanese history, I think the same thing is true for the samurai. I think that there were some samurai families that saw the times turning, and for better or for worse, and by good means or by means that were less than what I would call good, they made changes to meet that moment. They went into different parts of society, but they understood that Bushido is something that is internal first, and they lived that out no matter what they were doing. And then there were some samurai who thought that the only way to be a samurai was to fight and to have the sword and to do those certain things. And they were not continued to this day. When the imperial soldiers took over, they were the ones that got wiped out. When it comes to any breed, man, this is a little rambling, but like when it comes to any breed, like one good example, I get stuck on breeds sometimes. You could tell what I'm learning about by what dog I mention the most. But Central Asian Shepherd, for them to not be feeding those dogs, and those dogs have to go and feed themselves and still make sure no livestock are lost. That's the definition of a Central Asian Shepherd. Okay? It's not height. It's not coat length. It's not texture. It's not tooth length. It's not alibi this or Central Asian Shepherd that. It's not. No. It's the work. That's the Central Asian Shepherd.
It's the work.
That's the work. Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure that recently one won a pretty big dog show, a pretty prestigious dog show. I can't remember which one it was, but that's the dog we're putting forward. You know, that's the dog that got the title, and that's the dog that's the going to be the popular sire for the next 5 years. Okay. But you tell me this. You take that same dog that just won that show. Would you stop feeding him so that he can feed himself? Put him with your livestock next to a freshborn lamb, helpless, great, smelling wonderful, already seasoned. You know, as far as the dog is concerned.
Check that out.
Would you trust? Huh?
That's one of the Aboriginal.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah, that's an Aboriginal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
There's another one.
There you go.
Yeah, I got some heck of a pictures, bro.
Man.
Yeah.
Look at that boy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, yeah. That's that's the thing. That's the thing for me. Like, you can have your show, you can have your pretty dogs, you can do that. And don't say, I'm not saying don't make the dog look good, you shouldn't be proud of it or anything like that. But I'm saying if you can't take that dog and do that test and do that work, what good is it? And I'm not saying the dog itself is worthless, but I mean the process that you're doing with saying that looks are all that matter. If the dog can't do the work, right? If I name too many breeds, then I'm gonna step on too many toes. But there are many breeds that they physically can't do the work that they were originally bred to, and I think that's sad. You don't necessarily have escaped slaves for a feeder to run down, but you certainly can have them do search and rescue. Or if you feel like that requires a dog with a good temperament with strangers, then you can have them work in different things. There's dogs that are working on different properties and reserves and stuff to track down poachers and stuff like that. You don't need to have a good temperament with strangers. As a matter of fact, it's better if you don't. You know, it's better if you don't. And man, that's what the bull mastiff originally for in the first place. But who's using bull mastiff for that these days? Who's letting those dogs work? Nobody's getting out there with those dogs like that. And I think that's a shame. You can have the times demand some sort of change, but that doesn't mean that nothing is the way, you know.
Right. I agree. Yeah, man, I agree.
If it was up to me, there'd be something to do for every dog. I remember seeing a video of somebody they had an English bulldog, and they were working that dog on a hog, and everybody in the comments was, "Oh my goodness, that's terrible! Look at that dog; it's so sloppy." This, that, or the other thing. And to me, I'm like, no, hold up, no, this person gets it. This person gets it. If I'm gonna get me an English bulldog, I'm gonna get one from him.
Right.
Because the work they got away from is what turned the dogs into what they are today. The best chance of getting something worthwhile is going to be getting back to that work and letting that work make the changes. Hey, this leg is too short. Make it longer so he can keep up. Hey, this snout is too short. It's not going to work. Make it longer so he can keep up. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That dog, that work will make that change over time if you let it. And at the start, it might not look like much. It might look as silly as a French bulldog doing shuts and flying around on somebody's ankle, you know.
Right.
But that's okay. That's the start. Let it be. Give it time. See what it becomes, you know. So yeah, I think there's this. If one thing is not clear, I am a dog nerd. I am not just in my dog breed. I will tell everybody the same advice. Look, if you think you know dogs and you only know your breed, you don't know dogs. You need to be an expert on at least 3 breeds. You need to be an expert on your breed. You need to be an expert on a breed that's very similar to your breed. They could be closely related. They could have the same job. They could have the same size. Find something they have very, very much in common. And that dog needs to be the second dog you're an expert on. And then you need to be an expert on a dog that has absolutely nothing to do with anything you do. You know,
or a dog like mine where you got to study the breeds that made it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Absolutely.
You
absolutely. You can.
You know what I mean? So,
absolutely. That's exactly right. You know, it'll help you to understand your current one better, especially when you understand what went into it. So absolutely, you know, but just broaden that horizon and that understanding. And I find myself just being a nerd, watching all kinds of stuff, gathering information from all kinds of breeds. but I find that it helps me to better manage the ones I've got. Some conditions that didn't, show up in my breed until more recently. And I know about them and see them in advance because I saw them in a different breed. And people taught me how to manage them in a different breed. Somebody in Dobermans taught me this, that, or the other thing. Somebody in the German Spitz Club gave me everything we needed for our templates for our breed club,
Yeah.
And just when it comes to that broadness and that understanding, the first dog show I ever got to present in was a bully show. They invited us. They weren't threatened by new dogs showing up. They weren't bothered by it. They actually put me on game because I showed up, and my whole experience up to that point is working dogs. So I show up and I'm like, well, I guess I should have bathed them first.
Yeah.
It's a dog show, I guess, duh. But
How so your first experience in one of those fun shows, which the bully breeders are opening it up to all breeds now, so a lot of people having fun. I'm sure somebody getting bit with all them dogs they be having in there. But what was the first experience like going into a show like that with the dog? How did the dog react to it?
The dogs did great. They did everything that you'd expect from Tosas. If you want to know a good little mini picture of the difference between boys and girls, at our booth next to us, they were either English bulldogs or old English bulldogs. They were young, so it was a little tougher for me to tell. But one of them was really upset about the size of the dogs next door, and one of my boys, a boy named Dante, was just standing kind of next to him, and that dog kind of lost it a little bit. And Dante did what is exactly what I would expect for a male Tosa. It's, if you ever see a mongoose in front of a snake, it's that same sort of hapless, clueless, they don't look like they know what they're doing, but just kind of coming up and sniffing and just, hey, you okay? Kind of look. And that's what he did. He didn't growl. He didn't have anything to say against that dog at all whatsoever. He's just, I think somebody needs to check on this one. But he can see this dog is insecure. It's not a threat. It's not something to worry about. So he's not taking it personal. The girl, Kikyo, that I had with me on the other hand, was on the other side of the booth, and she comes over like, I'm sorry, what did you say? Typical female Tosa, in that they tend to, in my experience, they tend to have a much lower threshold. It doesn't mean that they can't be like boys. Some more are, but some are a lot shorter fuse and a lot less patience. So, but overall, they did great. There was no disruptions. I actually had a puppy with us that was about a year old. No problems in between our own booth or with anybody else. They gave us the stage and let us introduce the breed and talk about them for 10 minutes, which, again, it was amazing. It was wonderful to be able to get out and talk about the dogs in public, show them somewhere. And prior to that, I had been to a formal dog show, like breed club show, like nationals. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, so I'm not trying to name them, but they were kennel club affiliated with like AKC kind of show. And they wouldn't even let me come inside the complex. It was okay for us to take some pictures outside, but they wouldn't even let me come inside the complex. And you contrast that with this bully show where these are people that have their own programs, they have their own breed that they're trying to work on and work with, but they're still taking the time to come and talk to you. Come and, hey, if you do this, if you move that, if you hold this, if you do this, you know, and our dogs did great with strangers coming up, talking to me, stuff like that. Again, they are very observant. They learn by seeing. As long as people are normal, you won't even know they're there, you know.
Right.
But if people act weird, that's when you start seeing them, you know, hey, this person is not doing what's normal for a human being. And I want to be clear, they observe people enough to know the difference between subtleties. This person has just never seen a big dog before. This person is just, you know, nervous about me. This person is just a little uneasy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That person is trying to rob somebody, you know, like they see and know those differences. And I don't have to teach that. I didn't have to train that. I didn't have to teach that. I didn't have to make that, thank God, because otherwise that would be exhaustive work.
Right.
But yeah, you know, so every year they check up on us and, hey, y'all coming back again? It's every year in the spring. Hey, y'all come back again? Yeah, we'll get out there. We'll come and we get to come and you know, show the dogs and stuff like that. It's neat. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a dog show person. I still understand the concept of stack. To me, the dog is standing.
Yeah, I like the fun show. Yeah, I like the fun show. Well, Corey, I'm gonna have to get out of here. I really appreciate you. I think you got a lot off tonight. Sir. Yeah, I think you got a lot off. And I enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed learning about this dog. I know it's a lot more, and I can ask questions all day long.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even get in the skin, but we could probably do it another time. Yeah. We didn't get into that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get out of here for now. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we get out of here?
Gratitude, big time to you and what you're doing. Grateful to God for the opportunity to be doing what we're doing. Grateful to my wife again, out there doing the thing. And grateful to the watchers, grateful to the people who are taking the time to come and see. Whether or not you get a Tosa is immaterial. It doesn't matter. What matters is somebody taking the time to learn and see and just even acknowledge that these dogs exist. That's huge and monumental to me. So thank you to everybody, everybody watching. I don't care who you are. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, we'll see you the next time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Have a good night.
All righty, sir. Thank you very much. All right, you too.
All right.
Step into the realm of canine wisdom with our podcast, NWA Cane Corsos, where we interview dog men and women from around the globe. Discover their talents and insights on breeding, training, nutrition, and the rich history of dogs. Tune in to the most underrated yet influential dog podcast on social media. Your journey into the dog world starts here.